Jaden Daniels, who's been lighting the league up, has been said by some to be the best QB in the NFC.
What guy said that?
Someone.
I don't remember who that was.
I have the link here.
Was it Damian Woody?
Yeah, I think so. And
Yeah.
who you said?
Yeah.
Damian Woody. Well, he was a guard for the Lions when he played.
Damian Woody and Rex Ryan.
And Rex Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Rex Ryan, he's always had out there opinions.
Yeah, Rex Ryan has to be. Yeah, he tries to be out there, and he's like, whatever. He's been fired from the NFL
so many times. Yeah.
So
he clearly knows QB talent. Wasn't Rex Ryan the one that brought in Sanchez? So
I think some of these people just say stuff just to try to get views. I think because that's just ridiculous. I mean,
We should do that.
Yeah, but he is really good. I'll give him that. He started off good, and he's playing really well. But, I mean, he is a rookie. So, we don't know if he's going to keep doing that. He may hit the rookie wall at some point, and he may regress. And the other thing for him is, like, I think he may... Well, there's a few things. A number of reasons why I would say he is not the best quarterback in the NFC. But one thing is, I think the more and more games that go... the worse he might not do as well because there will be more and more film on him for these defensive coordinators, and he may go downhill. And I think it's hard to say. I don't know how you can say he's the best quarterback in the NFC when he is basically like first read and then run the ball. And really good quarterbacks in the NFL don't do that. They go through more than one read. I mean, he is very athletic and he is very good, but to say he's the best in the NFC is ridiculous, especially the way some people are playing right now. I mean, Baker Mayfield's playing way better than him. Yes, I do like Baker, but the fact is he is playing better than him, and right now Sam Darnold's playing better than him. Now, Sam Darnold might not keep doing that.
Pumpkin watch.
But my point is there's other quarterbacks, Brock Purdy. There's a number of quarterbacks in the NFC that are better than him. And to say he's the best is just ridiculous.
86 completion percentage.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He's clearly not going to keep up that pace. Nobody's going to finish the year with an 86 completion percentage. That's nuts.
86, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Yeah, and I wasn't sold on him for the same reason you were. You mentioned he only takes one read, then he takes.
I got him 3 touchdowns and 1 for the year.
After watching,
3, my stat says 1. Oh, that's just against the Cardinals.
Yeah, so he's got 3 for the whole year.
Yeah, after what he did to the Bengals, though, that really kind of sold me on him a little bit because man, he completed like 90% of his passes, right. And they weren't just little dinking and dunking down the field. He threw some really deep passes on them too, and they just didn't have an answer for him. And the Bengals have always struggled with running quarterbacks, but you can see the league's kind of moving more to that. All the quarterbacks that come out now, they all have at least some mobility. Jared Goff might be the last of the pure just stand in the pocket and throw. Even Joe Burrow, who's in the pocket most of the time, he still gets out and runs occasionally. So that's kind of where a lot of this is going. And you can teach a player how to move to a second, third, fourth read. You can't teach him running a 4.340 and running around and throwing the ball 70 yards. You can't teach that stuff. But they can teach him how to go through his reads and get better at that. So as the year goes on, you could argue he might get better at some other stuff. But as defenses get better, he'll get better too. So yeah, he's going to balance out a little bit because right now his numbers are off the charts.
Yeah, but the thing is he is a rookie. I mean, they can teach that going through the reads, but it's just such another level in the NFL compared to college. And that takes some time for them to get through those reads because, all the quarterbacks talk about how long you have to play. The longer you play, the game slows down for you. And I don't think it's going to slow down a lot for him just in one season. He might, I think it'll take him a couple seasons to get to where you can say he's the best.
Yeah, he's already really fast.
I just think that's ridiculous with all the way there's some other quarterbacks that are playing really good ball, and just to say he's the best.
But you mentioned 3 guys. Do you think he's like already playing as the 4th best in the
I don't
NFC?
know. It depends on what you want to go by. And I know going just by yards is not a huge thing. And I know, like you said, Dak Prescott. I'm not a big Dak
He's
Prescott.
the king of empty calories.
I'm not a big Dak Prescott fan either. He does, rack up yardage at the end of games when the game's out of hand. He has 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions though on the year. And what we say, McDaniel, Jaden's only got 3. I mean,
how many rushing touchdowns does he have? Because I
I
know
don't
he
think
scored
I
a
have
rushing
the rushing
touchdown
one. I
in
don't have it
almost
on
every
there.
game. Because I have him in fantasy football. I think he's got 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns. Do you count those as?
well, I guess. I mean,
All right.
I guess you got to count him. He's accounting
His
for it,
rushing
though.
thing, 218 rushing yards on the year. That's a 4.7 average and 4 touchdowns.
He's got 4 rushing touchdowns, so he's got 7 total touchdowns. And if you add in his rushing
He
yards,
sounds like a good running back.
yeah. But if you add in his rushing yards,
He's a good run. He's like Lamar Jackson. They're good running
if you add in
backs.
his rushing yards, he's got more yards than Geno Smith, who's currently at the top. So that's just a little devil's advocate.
But I don't have Geno Smith's rushing yards on here either. I'm sure
Geno
he's got
Smith
some.
don't run.
He's had to run some. Baker's rushing yards on here. He's rushed. Not like Jaden.
Where he's
but
averaging like
you
70
can't-
yards a
I
game.
have
You
ESPN
can't like
here.
add
I can
his
get
in and say he'd be at the top when you don't add anybody
My
else.
point is, you say he's all the way down here, but a lot of these
My
guys
point
ahead
is, I
of
don't
him.
care where he is on that list when it's just ranked in yardage. He is
Geno
not the
Smith
best.
on the year
Whatever
has
you want.
74 rushing
74
yards.
rushing yards.
So whatever
and
you
a
want to go
touchdown.
by.
But my point is, if you factor in the
You know why
rushing,
his rushing yards
he will
are lower?
leapfrog most of these guys in rushing and in touchdowns.
You know why his Geno's rushing yards are lower? It's because he's a quarterback. He's not running.
But they're counting.
I know you got to go with.
I
I know nowadays you're getting this running quarterback and everything, but I don't know. These guys are gonna. The risk of that is having a very short career because somebody's gonna lay him out.
and
And if
he's
they
skinny.
played,
He's really skinny.
and if some of these guys played, like they've changed the rules so much for the defenses now, that a lot of them are just scared to touch quarterbacks. But I mean, like back in the several back in the day.
Can't use back in the day though. You're talking about now.
I know, but I mean, like a Lamar Jackson or this guy would have been laid out by somebody.
Michael Vick would have had a much longer career, like as far as like being a top quarterback in today's game, because they wouldn't have been able to touch him.
Yeah, you can't even breathe on the quarterback anymore without. But yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Bottom line, I don't think he is. He's good. When I've seen him, I've only seen him a couple times. But
He's only played a few times.
But I mean, he's impressive. But yeah, there's other quarterbacks in the NFC that are playing better than him, and I don't know. I think it's crazy to say that.
I agree.
I think it's just
Other
crazy.
quarterbacks
Stupid.
in the NFC, though, have Sam Darnold. He had 3 touchdown passes against the Packers, making the Vikings 4-0, one of the only 2 teams that are still undefeated.
Can I go first on this one?
Well, yeah, you can. The Vikings
Yeah,
are
is he an
shocking.
MVP candidate? Because
So-
that's what the internet says.
So how many times do we have to see a guy come in and play great for 2 or 3 games, and then turn back into a pumpkin before we stop putting them on this pedestal like they're going to win the MVP?
They're undefeated, Ryan, and he leads the league in touchdown passes.
For now, he's going to turn back into a pumpkin. He's going to have a game where he throws 3 or 4 interceptions, and all this we put to bed. I mean, we see this all the time where guys come in and play well for a stretch of games. The longest I've seen was Nick Foles, and that was still only like 7 games where he came in and played great. They won the Super Bowl. But after that, what did Nick Foles do?
I bet Colin Cowherd's all excited. Woo!
I bet he is.
And,
but-
for years, he'd been act like Sam Darnold was better than Baker because he's got some beef against Baker. But Sam Darnold has been a total bust trash until this year, and so he's probably all excited. Like he's gonna be one of those people that
11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 69 completion percentage.
So things are going
Who they
well.
play? Who they played?
They played the 49ers.
Yeah, they played the Niners.
Well,
But
is that the last game? That's the last game.
No, they played.
No.
They played.
They played the Packers last.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So they played some good
somebody.
teams.
Okay.
But again, so right now things are going well for him. He's had a clean pocket most of the time. He's got Justin Jefferson, probably the best receiver in the world right now, and he's had a few games where he's played really well. The defense is playing well too.
The Vikings here, they've beaten the Giants,
Nobody,
the
that's trash.
49ers,
Yeah, that's good.
the Texans, and then the Packers.
Yeah, that's not a bad stretch of wins.
I don't know what the deal with the Texans. They beat the Texans 34-7.
34-7.
the Vikings defense has been great. That's what I've been trying to say. They've been great. So what's Darnold going to do when they play a game? The defense is struggling, and they get behind, and things aren't going according to the script.
Yeah. 2 games coming up, they have the Lions.
Yeah, so they've got a great coach, and right now things are going according to the script.
The Jets. They'll probably beat the Jets. Maybe. I don't know.
think they will beat the Jets.
Aaron Rodgers could still go off in a game. I don't think they'll beat the Lions. They got the Jets and then the Lions. Yeah. Well, we'll see. That'll be interesting to see. You're probably right. He probably won't keep doing this. I mean, he's never done this before in his life in the NFL.
Or in college, even.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Are you hating on Sam Darnold?
I don't know. I'm very hating on him.
It's just this
I
thing
mean, he
where a quarterback will come in and they'll play well for like 2 games, and everybody will be like, "Oh, is there a quarterback controversy?" It's like,
yeah.
Come on, they play well for a couple games.
Yeah, I know. It's just people.
We see that all the time.
But
Jake Browning came in last year for the Bengals and played great for 2 games, and people were like, "Oh, is he gonna maybe pressure Burrow?" And then he went back to being Jake Browning after that. And it's just what happens.
I think that
Ryan Fitzpatrick made a career on doing that.
Yes, Fitzpatrick come in, play great for 2 games, and
that's true.
Then he'll go right back to being,
So he'll.
That's what I think. Maybe he'll be the exception because there's occasionally an exception to the rule. But the precedent that has been set in the past is that he will probably.
So we don't. Yeah, nobody thinks he's an MVP. Okay,
no,
he's not going to keep him.
No.
Well, okay. So while the Vikings are undefeated, the Jaguars have not won a game yet, and they're the only team in the league to have not won a game. So is Doug Peterson? Is he in trouble as the head coach?
Yes. And it's crazy because they were 8-3 last year before Lawrence got hurt. And then they fell apart and missed the playoffs. And then this year they start 0-4. So the coach is going to get the blame for it because Lawrence got that big contract. They're stuck with him. They can't get rid of him. Yeah. So the coach is going to get the blame for it. But Lawrence has played really bad, and this is the second coach he's played really bad for. And they're going to probably swap out for a new coach next year. And if Lawrence is still not playing well at that point, then you got to start thinking maybe he's not the answer at that point. Because how many coaches can you go through and how many years can you spend?
What was their record last year?
Before he got hurt, he was like 8-3 before he got hurt, and he hurt his ankle, and they ended up losing the rest of their games, I think.
They're not the rest of them, because I know their last 10, going back next year, they're 1-9.
Okay, so they ended up losing 9 of their last 10.
So...
But Lawrence was hurt for a lot of those going up. And also for reference, the teams they lost. They lost 20-17 to the Dolphins, 18-13 to the Browns, 47-10 to the Bills, and then 24-20 to the Texans.
So they barely scored 20 points in only one game. They can't score.
And they lost to the Browns.
Yeah. You're done for then.
I mean, I'm a Browns fan, and you'd say that's pathetic. And we got the Browns-Bengals back here. From
2000, Browns are losing there too.
2005, they were
4. This game
that's
was
4.
That's the year before.
2004. But it's Madden 05, right?
Madden 05.
Yeah. So it's the.
Gosh. Yeah. Do you recognize any of those players?
Thought we were talking about the Jaguars.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's
how much
there's it's kind of weird because I thought, is this only his second year there?
No, this is his third.
Peterson?
No, Peterson's second.
Yeah.
Lawrence's third. It's Peterson's third.
Is it really?
Yeah. He had more than that. It's his 3rd or 4th year, I think.
Oh, yeah, because they went to the playoffs his first year there.
When Lawrence was a rookie.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs.
No, he was a rookie with Urban Meyer.
Oh, he was a rookie with Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer almost destroyed him.
Yeah, so they went to the playoffs.
I thought this was only Trevor's 3rd year.
No, this is his 4th year. And so if they fire a coach and go through a 3rd coach on his 5th year, that's 5 years. How much do you got to see a guy? He might just be like a Jay Cutler. A guy that was, 15 to 20 range of quarterbacks. He was never great, but he was never the worst in the league either. I mean, Lawrence...
It is kind of... It's crazy. The people joke about the NFL being not for long, and that's not just for the players; they do it to the coaches too. It's not. It's like you don't get a whole lot of time unless you're Marvin Lewis. Yeah. I mean, it's like I mean, sometimes
Jason Garrett.
Yeah, Jason Garrett. But yeah, I think he is on the hot seat. Obviously, you can't start off like that. And the bad thing, well, Lawrence was hurt last year when they started. It's really weird though because they were doing so well. And then it's like, boom! You haven't won a game, and now it's like you're on the hot seat.
Maybe if they could just win one, maybe they would get back on track. Because now they've lost so many in a row.
Yeah, maybe
their confidence is just totally shot.
Yeah, I think though. Who knows? I mean, because they could turn around and win like 8 in a row or something, and then he's not on the hot seat anymore. And then everybody be like, "Oh, he saved his job." So
how much blame has to go to like Trevor Lawrence and the players? Because in the interview, Peterson said, "As coaches, we can't go out there and make plays. It's a two-way street. So you guys can sit here and point the finger all you want, and it's fine."
Okay.
So
2 things with that. First, that is the worst thing a coach can say.
Yeah, he should.
He threw all his players under the bus, and they're not going to want to play hard for a guy that's doing that. That is terrible. You want to talk to the players in the locker room. You don't want to out them to the media. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Second thing is, the Jaguars are not as good as people made them out to be. I get sick of hearing people talk about how great every receiving core is. There are people talking about how the Jaguars had a good receiving core. Their best receiver is Christian Kirk. They're not that good.
Who's talking about them being... Yeah.
Well, people said that Lawrence has weapons now, and he really doesn't. They don't really have that great a receiving core. And people talked about the Jets having all kinds of weapons, but they really don't. When you talk about, comparing teams, the Browns have better receivers than the Jets do.
I don't know about that.
They do. I mean, Amari Cooper is better than what the Jets have right now. I mean, it's just...
But the Browns, Amari Cooper's pretty much it.
Who's the Jets' second receiver?
Second? Who's their first?
Garrett Wilson.
Well, Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson's young.
Yeah, he's younger than Amari, but he's not better than Amari.
Yeah, probably not right now. He's probably faster than Amari.
Yeah, but Amari's a much better route runner. And catches the ball better.
Well, Amari's... The Browns... Who knows what will happen with him? I don't think he's happy.
Why would he be?
I think he wanted a contract too, and they didn't give him one, so it's going to be he might end up.
Browns are going to blow it up.
They're 1-3 right now.
The Browns. That's another. I was listening to a lot of the Browns, listening to some Browns media stuff. One of these shows, and a lot of people. I mean, they think Stefanski's on the hot seat, which is crazy. You talk about. He's 2-time coach of the year, which some people are like, I don't care about that. The coach of the year stuff's bogus. It's a bunch of garbage anyway. Yes. Some people think it's dumb. It doesn't mean anything. And I think last year he got the coach of the year because they went through so many quarterbacks and he managed to keep the team together and they managed to squeak into the playoffs. But I told you before the season started, remember? That I didn't think they'd make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Because last year, there was a bunch of close games that could have gone either way, and the Browns ended up winning them. And I was afraid if they got in those situations this year, they wouldn't win them.
Yeah.
And they aren't winning those games. And Stefanski's making, lots of people are calling for him to give up play calling because they think he's making boneheaded decisions at the end of games because he's not just being a head coach. He's trying to call plays and do it. And they're like, obviously you're not able to do it. You're not able to keep track of what you need to keep track of and call plays.
I never understood that.
And so
all the great offensive minds that, they call their own plays. Like Sean McVay calls his own plays. Andy Reid calls his own plays.
But not everybody's those two.
Yeah, but
that's true.
The Vikings coach is calling his own Kevin O'Connell. Is that his name, Kevin O'Connell?
Something like that.
He's calling his own plays too.
The other end of
Matt
that
LaFleur
too.
calls his plays.
Belichick always called the defense. He was a great defensive coach. He called the plays on defense.
I get that.
Stefanski's just not that great of a coach, and I think that the reason he's on the hot seat, even with all the success he's had, is because when you make that decision to move on from Baker, they got that okayed with Stefanski. If he had voiced that he wanted to keep Baker, they would have kept Baker. So Stefanski and the GM have to own that decision, even if it was the owner's fault, which I know you brought up multiple times that you think that the owner had a hand in it. But the owner's sticking around.
Yeah, you can't fire the owner, unfortunately.
People that's going to take the blame for it is the GM and the coach. And so far, it's been one of the worst deals in NFL history. They've totally botched that.
Watson this year have a 61 completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 727 yards.
But he's actually playing better this year than he has the whole time he's been there.
This is better?
Yeah. And actually, this last game, I don't think it was his fault. I mean, I think he played decent in that game. They should have won. I would not blame him for this last loss.
I mean, they did allow 152 rushing yards.
Yeah,
and the
to
Raiders,
a team that's not good at running.
The Raiders in their first 3 games combined had 153 rushing yards. So that's all combined. But one of the Browns' touchdowns was a defensive touchdown. So the offense didn't do anything.
And he missed a wide open guy that Cooper was going for a touchdown. He missed him. He was wide open.
No, yeah, but he also hit Cooper right in the hands, and he popped it up in there and allowed it to get intercepted. Yeah. That would have been a huge gain. It wouldn't have been a touchdown, but it was a perfectly thrown pass. And I'm not a big Watson fan. I never wanted them to bring him in there. I thought it was stupid, but I'm not going to blame. I think he did play decent that last game. He also had a touchdown pass to Amari Cooper towards the end of the game that would have put him in the lead, that maybe would have won the game. They got called back because an offensive lineman was holding somebody. So the offensive line has been trash all year. They have some injuries, but they've been horrible. And some people blaming the GM for that, for not having adequate people there, adequate backups.
Well, when you're paying your quarterback $60 million fully guaranteed,
and
you can't cut anymore.
You can't get anybody.
That's like 1/3 the cap almost, isn't it?
And they went from
$250 million.
Yeah,
something.
I think. And then they went from having a good offensive line to now one that's just horrible. But I mean, there's so many things in that game besides. I mean,
do you think Baker would have won it? Because that's really the question, isn't it? Because what makes this all worse is that Baker went to Tampa, played great, won a playoff game. Now this year, there's real consideration where he could potentially be in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, he's had MVP numbers so far.
So
he's had one.
Be like that, and the Bucks are kind of like a favorite to be like in the NFC Championship.
So the Browns said that Baker was the reason they couldn't win. That he was holding them back, and that's why they had to go get Deshaun. But it really wasn't the Browns holding Baker back. And if that's the case, then the coach and GM, and eventually the quarterback, whenever they can, gotta go.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Now, it probably was the Browns holding Baker back because, for whatever reasons, the Browns as an organization has issues.
Bengals have issues too, and the only reason the Bengals are relevant is because of their quarterback.
Yeah.
The organization is awful.
Yeah, the Browns organization has just been awful since they've come back. They've had a couple different owners. They're still awful. I would like to do... we could do an episode on their GM if we wanted to, because... I'd have to go back and look, but I can't think just off the top of my head anybody great that he has actually drafted. And I know they gave up a lot of picks to get Deshaun, but I don't think his draft picks have been that great. Like, he's had a couple that he's hit on, but he's got a lot of misses.
Drafted Myles Garrett.
He's traded.
No, he didn't.
Didn't he not? Did this
that GM did not draft him.
To me, that doesn't count. If you have the number 1 pick, and there is a consensus number 1 pick, guy that's by far the best player in the draft, and you draft him, and he turns out to be great, anybody could have drafted Myles Garrett. You could have stuck anybody in the Browns GM office, and they would have been like, yeah, let's take Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that doesn't mean anything. Or like with the Colts drafting Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
You're going to give that GM credit because he took Andrew Luck? Like, what a smart guy that was. He took Andrew Luck, number 1 overall.
All right. Fair enough. Finally on my list here, topic Ryan wants to get to, is that for the 4th year in a row, passing yards are down, and it's at this year so far, they're at their lowest since 2001. So the thing is, why is this happening, and what other people are talking about, is it a problem for the league?
Well, first reason why it's happening, so when they changed the rules a few years ago to favor the offense to where the defenders can't be physical down the field, they can't hold anymore like they used to, all the pass interference calls that they get now, and the development of the passing game as far as, do pick plays and stuff and get guys running wide open. The Chiefs also, with Tyreek Hill blowing games wide open with big plays, teams have decided to just take away the big play. No. I saw a stat that said that there's like 60% of snaps now the defense has 2 high safeties. Okay. And that's like more than doubled what it used to be.
Right.
So they're just telling teams, we are not going to let you beat us on one play. You're going to have to throw short or you're going to have to run the ball. And most of these teams are not built to run the ball anymore. So that's why you see all these teams now dinking and dunking down the field, throwing these short screens or these little crossing patterns and stuff. Because the defense is just determined they're not going to let you beat them deep. And a lot of these teams, they think, if we make them take 10 to 12 plays, odds are there's going to be a holding penalty on the offense that's sometimes going to kill a drive. Maybe we can sack them one time and that's going to kill a drive. Whereas if Tyreek Hill gets behind you at one time, it's done.
Right. So, or if you don't have the penalties, it's like, the quarterback rushed this pass. Yeah. Missed this guy or threw it at his feet. There's going to be mistakes made by
most quarterbacks.
By the offense.
Unless you're Jared Goff last night and he went 18 of 18.
Yeah. NFL record.
Yeah, but he still didn't get a game ball. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Dan Campbell didn't give him a game ball.
He didn't realize he was 18 for 18 and he said he felt bad.
In the internet afterwards, they said something to him about it. He's like, he was 18 for 18? He's like, I knew he had a great game, but I didn't realize he was... Man...
I feel bad. That's the first time in NFL history that someone's been perfect with at least 15 pass attempts. It's the first time ever.
Yeah, but that's
makes you wonder though about the Seahawks. Like, what are you doing on defense? Like,
I don't know.
Also, I saw the Eagles. This goes back to trying to take away the big play. I saw a stat that said the Eagles, on like 80% of snaps on defense, that they haven't had a single corner in press coverage. So, like, on 80% of the time, they're all, like, back.
But then, like, the Bucks, Baker tore them apart. Yeah. They can't play like that.
Teams, they think we'll just, Baker's one of those quarterbacks that can hit several passes in a row and beat you down the field. Mahomes can do that. Burrow can do that. But Allen can do that. They can hit several in a row.
Even Lamar can do that from like
Lamar those little 5 yards.
You're going to give him 5 to 10 yards. Lamar will pick you out all the way down the field.
Yeah. So, but that's where,
but I mean,
Baker hit extreme, but
Baker hit some deep ones too on them. I'm like, what you guys? He tore them up with short, long passes. I was like, that's crazy. The Eagles
falling apart. Yeah.
I mean, they were just in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And now they're just like, you're talking about coaches not, getting out of there. I mean, people want to hit, the people are done with him. And he just, 2 years ago? Was it 2 years ago? He went to the Super Bowl? And now it's like
one play away from winning it.
It's like you're gone. So, yeah, they're a mess. And most people are blaming the head coach for it. So.
And I think rightfully so. Yeah. I think he's lost the locker room. And
once that happens, you're just done.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of talent.
So
I mean, you got Jalen Hurts I know he's struggling a little bit, but he's still a decent quarterback. You got Saquon Barkley. You've got A.J. Brown. You've got Devontae Smith at receiver. You still got a decent O-line. There's no reason that the offense should not be able to score.
Yeah, I saw some...
but defensively, like if they might be playing 10 yards off the receivers for a reason. That might not be a coaching decision. It's just like if we play them closer, they're going to get beat.
Yeah, but that's another thing for me is I would rather them beat us deep a couple times than what the Eagles are currently doing. The Eagles just get smoked.
Yeah, and I get the deep pass, and you don't want to give that up. But there's a couple, like you said though, it's like you dinking and dunking on us. You're eating up the clock, and you're scoring anyway. So you're taking all the clock away from us. Yeah. But anyway, the other thing is sometimes that deep stuff, and even Mahomes and the really good quarterbacks, that deep one, there's a chance they're going to miss that one. I mean, chance.
Yeah.
Just a little overthrown off the fingertips. But throwing a ball 50 yards down the field is harder than throwing it 10, 15. Yeah. I mean, you might, you know what I'm saying? There's that risk, but there's a chance they're not going to hit it.
It depends on the quarterback.
It depends on the quarterback.
But I'm betting Mahomes hits it more times than not.
Yeah, probably. But would you bet Lamar Jackson's going to hit it? I would say no.
How blown is this coverage?
Yeah, like there's been times like
no,
with
I'm not
Tyreek Hill,
talking where you guys just standing there. He's still running his route. Maybe he's got
like a step or two.
A few steps
step
on the
and a
guy,
half
and you
or
still
two.
got to lead him and hit him.
But like
I
guys
mean,
like Tyreek Hill, you've got to have safety.
Well, yeah,
because he
he's
just makes one
yeah.
guy look he just embarrasses
Yeah,
him. He's
yeah,
just
yeah.
too fast.
But you got to be able to, I think that the offenses they got to be able to run the ball. If you run the ball enough, you're going to force them to come down.
That's why you saw Derrick Henry rush for almost like the last
Yeah.
2 games. He's rushed for 150
Yeah,
yards and almost 200
yards.
yards. Like Adrian Peterson would rip this league apart. So would LaDainian Tomlinson, or all those older backs too. Ed Dickerson,
Barry Sanders.
Yeah, they would just
Barry
destroy.
Sanders. That's not fair.
Barry
You put him in
Sanders.
any
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, but I mean, he would have had a field day.
Yeah, but they would just destroy these teams for running these 2 high safeties, and then they'd have to come up. And another reason you're seeing the 2 high safety look is teams are running shotgun way more. So teams are not as worried about the run when you're in shotgun. You got 3 or 4 receivers out there.
Yeah.
They're thinking, why do we need another linebacker? Why do we need to bring the safety down? You're going to throw the ball anyway.
Right.
There's no reason for it.
Yeah.
Was that all your topics?
That was all 5 of them.
So we hit all the 5 topics.
Yeah.
So that's an episode right here.
And it's
Pretty
been a
much,
while.
unless
And
you
I
want
could
to
say
more.
we're done.
Add one of your
We're
brothers.
done. Are you sticking with that? Something I said off the cuff. Just
Well, what else
mocking
could
you?
it be?
What?
The Doofuses with a microphone.
Yeah,
That's the
let's
name.
stick
I
with
think
it.
it's
Yeah,
funny,
I
and
like
it's
that.
like
Yeah,
it's
we're
just,
spelling
and
it the way
it's
Dad
just-
spelled it wrong the first
No,
time.
we're not spelling.
Yes,
it
we
wrong.
are.
No, we're
Yeah.
not spelling. it wrong.
Dufus.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Doofus.
Okay. Doofus.